Dude, I cannot believe that Adrian. No way. Not cool collected Adrian Andrews. She's your manager. Would have been very easy for her to pull this off. The only person who had easy access to the knife you used at dinner was, well, her. So after the ceremony during the break, huh? I was sleeping like a log the entire time. See, she could have also easily planted that blood-covered... see, she could have also easily planted that blood-covered button in your hakama. Because she was the one that came up to wake me up. But she was wearing it, right? That's what we assessed. So how did he get out of the costume? Unless she had a spare. Then, dude, you're saying it was really her? Yes, she is the real killer. She was the one who murdered Juan Corrida. But why? I thought she was buds with Juan. She has her own agenda. Her own agenda? What are you talking about? I'm sure you'll see by the time this trial's over. It'll be alright. I'll get you acquitted by the end of today. Get me a verdict that's refreshing like a spring breeze. Okay, Mr. Lawyer, dude. Phoenix, we have 10 minutes. You think her motive is related to Celeste Impact's missing suicide note, right? Hey, couldn't we just get what's her face, Pearly, to summon Celeste? Yes. Miss Andrews depended on Miss Impacts as her strength and reason to live. But then Miss Impacts suddenly killed herself. It sounds like she left a suicide note, and the person thought to have hidden it is Juan Corrida, the victim of this murder. And that's why I think that Miss Andrews got close to Mr. Corrida. All to get the suicide note back. Stop being rational? Alright, my bad. That sounds plausible. But one thing bothers me. What? Who was it that first told us about their relationship? Better stated, Miss Andrews' dependency issues with regards to Miss Impacts. Edgelord. Alright, man with that hair. Good luck in the meeting, dude. It was Edgelord. It looks like he's still the one in command of this ship. Don't let your guard down yet. And now we only have 5 minutes. That could work though, that's fine. Probably only need 2 minutes. 30 seconds sometimes. There's something that I just realized in that art scene. They've got her wearing like when in that blurry photo, they've got her struggling to fit into a top with a curved, like a low cut curve on it, but it's not. It's a vest which is struggling to stay shut, and it's split down the middle. Inconsistent artwork. Court will now reconvene. Now then, Mr. Edgelord, if you please. The prosecution calls the witness subpoenaed by this court. Ms. Adrienne Andrews, the person who discovered the crime in Mr. Juan Corrida's room. Wagner, thanks for the gift sub. Welcome, Sky Chronicler. Appreciate Wagner. Much love, my man. What is your occupation? I am the manager of the defendant in this case, Mr. Matt On Guard. I see. Now then. Before we begin, Your Honor, I have one request. Yes, sure. What is it? I'm sure everyone in this room is wondering the same thing. Why do I keep turning the page in my book? I would love to find out more about my relationship with the victim. After all, it was the topic of a certain weekly magazine recently. No, I have no idea what you mean. I've never even heard of Gossipland. Oh man, if the judge was ever a prosecution witness, he'd do all my work for me. Anyway, I was wondering if you could please tell us about your relation to the victim. Yes, I was seeing Mr. Corrida. I was also aware of the rivalry that existed between Matt and Juan. I wonder if she's been, like, because that's the card, like, she says it's in a bag, but maybe she's showing us as a reminder, you know, and she's the one on the other side of the transponder. But this was a private matter between Juan and myself? So it was a fry and bait matter? Or was that a bait and fry? Reminds me of fishing. But I didn't kill him. No one is accusing you of that. We are. Literally. We said we accusing her. Anyway, I think there's someone who would beg to differ. I think we all understand your relationship with the victim now, Miss Andrews. Very well then, witness. Please testify to the court. About what happened when you discovered the murder that had taken place. When I found the body. It was time for the show to start, so I went to get Matt from his room. And after that, I went to Juan's room. And there was his dead body. I was in shock. What I saw was naturally the exact same scene as in the crime scene photo. I felt as though I was about to faint, so I poured myself a glass of juice. But then didn't drink it. You poured yourself a glass of juice? Yeah, sadly I didn't remember not to touch things at the scene of a crime. And I disturbed the crime scene by moving this one thing. And that is when the fingerprints on the... And that is when the fingerprints on the wine glass were made, Your Honor. I see. Well, Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Oh, something. She is one cool and collected customer. She has the brains to match. Yeah, I know. In order to catch a person like her, you have to avoid head-on confrontations. You should disrupt her pacing. Disrupt her pacing? Yeah, like, all of a sudden, just stick your thumb in and wait, that's for a different channel. She's the type of woman is easily thrown off by things inconsistent with her thinking. So you have to attack when she least expects it. The instant you let up on your offense is the instant this trial is over. Understand? I mean, if, you know, we do what the pro tells us. When I found the body. It was time for the show to start. I went to get Matt from his room. That seems fine. Then I went to Juan's room, and there was his dead body. I was in shock. I saw naturally the exact same scene as the crime scene photo. This is just weird. Why would you pour yourself a glass of juice? There was a bottle of tomato juice on the table. I helped myself. But you didn't drink any of it, did you? Huh? There were no lip marks left on this wine glass suggest that anyone drank from it. And the glass is full. I wasn't feeling terribly great, so I set the glass down without drinking it. Yeah, that's what I did. I mean, yeah, I was feeling bad. Nervous, so I poured a glass, and then I didn't drink any immediately because all of a sudden I felt bad. Oh, likely story. I warned you earlier that she wouldn't crack so easily. The only way to make her is to keep on the offensive and not let up. The only way you're going to catch her is with some very strong, decisive evidence. I have to find something, have to, for Maya's sake. You were in shock. What? Was it not supposed to be? Why can't we ask her if she wore the costume or something? She's a very calculating person. Despite how close they were, I doubt she had romantic feelings for Mr. Kurita. Anyone randomly stumbling upon a dead body would be in shock. You can't seriously expect that a young beauty like her would not be shocked. I don't think beauty has anything to be shocked. I see. Sanders, I would like to confirm with you one more time. When you discovered the dead body of Von Kurita, you were in great shock. And that's when you poured yourself the glass of juice, correct? And what of it? My mind was a complete blank at the time. Your mind was a complete blank. I didn't think that was possible for you. Aren't you rude today? I was so dazed that I made one careless mistake, that one thing. What one thing? Never mind, it's no big deal. Miss Andrews. I'm convinced that as you said, you made a mistake at the scene of the crime. What I really want to know is what this mistake was. Actually, so would I. I'm sorry, it's kind of embarrassing. Tough. When I set the glass down on the dresser, I accidentally knocked the flower vase over. Which made it look like a struggle. Flower vase? Are you talking about the one on the floor in the crime photo? This mess of glass shards. It was originally on top of the dresser. But when I bumped into it with my elbow, it fell onto the guitar case. Wait, then they very specifically told us there was no liquid inside the guitar case, which is open. Why did you withhold such an important piece of information? I'm sorry, I thought that since the crime scene was already in disarray, that people would simply assume the vase was another part of the mess. Looks like yet another fact has come to light here. Please add this and anything else you have to reveal to your testimony. I'm sorry, but I have nothing more to add. I didn't touch anything else. There is some water, but only on top of the lid. Which means it would have had to have fallen on the case and then the case be opened. Take that. Objection! Oh. You testified that you knocked the flower vase over. Is this correct? Yes. Are you sure it fell onto the guitar case? Is there some problem with what I said? Yes, that's why I objected. It's not some problem, it's a major problem. It's true the top of the guitar case was wet with water. However, that's exactly what is so strange. Miss Andrews, you testified the vase fell onto the guitar case. However, if that was true, the case should have gotten wet on the inside, not the outside. That's very true. Furthermore, there is one other strange thing about this guitar case. And what is that? Let's take another look at the crime scene photo. The remains of the vase are scattered on the floor. She was looking in the case for the suicide note. What is wrong with that? If the guitar case was open when the vase fell, the vase shard should be inside and not outside of the case. Yeah, okay, some of them maybe.
Objection!
What's your point, Wright? That the case was closed at the time the vase was knocked over? Is that all?
Objection!
No, think back to what Miss Andrews testified to. She said that other than the vase, she didn't touch anything else. Yeah, that's right. She did implicitly say that she didn't touch the guitar case.
Objection!
But this whole matter with the guitar case is a dead end. The bright red guitar was found at the studio. It has no bearing on this case at all. May very well be. However, the empty guitar case does seem to have no relation to this case, doesn't it? It seems that there is no deeper meaning to the guitar case. Stretch, do you think we need to hear more details about the guitar case? I mean, we need to push, right? If we say let it be... I don't know if we don't have anything, though. He loved the game. No, you don't. Where's the Kappa Gru? Sometimes, though, you've got to be careful not to quickly jump into it. Because it's like 99% of the time, it's this one. We have to make it. Otherwise, we've gone the wrong way, right? But sometimes you don't. And forcing it is the wrong one. I think we've had it once. That's the problem. It's not often enough that you have to think. So it's really easy just to select it all the time. But there is a lot of definite... Here, if I don't do this one now, we're doomed. Okay, well, I'll pick the other one. I believe this is a crucial piece of the puzzle. Can't believe anyone would reach for straws like this, but it is you. Can't believe I'm doing this either. Alright. I'll follow along for now. Miss Andrews, please testify to the court about the guitar case. Yes, Your Honor. The guitar case. I don't remember too clearly because I was a bit dazed. I suppose I must have opened the guitar case after I knocked the vase over. It's not a big deal though, right? The case was empty after all. As for why I opened the case, even I don't know. That's terrible. It looks like this really wasn't a very important point. This wastefulness is such a familiar feeling by now that it's almost comforting. I'll start the cross-examination. Using any way to change the topic, a convenient escape for a weak man. I don't remember because I was a bit dazed. Okay. She's guessing. Which doesn't matter. But... yeah. Gumshoe specifically told us that there was no fingerprints. Which is why the guitar case was a dead end and they didn't care about the missing guitar.
Objection!
There's no way you were the one who opened the guitar case. Why would you say that? It's elementary, my dear Watson. Because the only fingerprints on this guitar case are those of the victim. Can you backseat? No. What is it, Miss Andrews? You shouldn't assume that I must have left fingerprints because I touched the case. What do you mean? What if I were to tell you that I was wearing gloves at the time? Gloves? But why would you be wearing gloves at the time? It was the night of the awards ceremony, so of course I dressed up for the occasion. Yes, now I remember. I'm almost sure I was wearing a pair of thin gloves. I see. Well, Mr. Wright, seems the witness was wearing gloves at the scene of the crime. You're wearing gloves. Isn't that a little strange? Why is that strange? Do you have something that would prove I was not wearing gloves at the time? Like some piece of evidence with my fingerprints on them?
Take that!
I have your proof right here. This wine glass that started off all this side of the court case. The wine glass? The one with your fingerprints on them. You left your fingerprints very clearly on this wine glass. I was wearing glove. Even if you took your gloves off when you poured yourself this glass of juice, wouldn't you think it was just a little strange that you put your gloves back on just to open the guitar case? Glasses shatter. I like it. Order. 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 Looks like you hit the nail on the head this time. What do you mean? Phoenix, you're an idiot. I believe that guitar case plays a very important role here. But it's just an empty case. I wonder if it really was empty, though. But the guitar, the bright red guitar was at the studio. He's probably got more bright red guitars. Phoenix, drop all of your presumptions. What was in the guitar case was not the bright red guitar. You don't mean it was a bright white guitar? Wait, that's not right either. I admit it'd be unnatural for someone to do that. So the witness was not wearing gloves despite the fact that on the case...
Objection!
Your Honor, this is obviously the defense's usual misdirection tactic at work. Steer the court towards an unrelated topic and lull us all into his misguided...
Objection!
No, Your Honor. Please recall that Miss Andrews had testified that the vase fell onto the guitar case, which means that the case was closed when the crime took place. However, it is wide open in this photo of the crime scene. I'm sure this guitar case has some relation to the murder.
Objection!
If you are so sure, Wright, then I'm sure you can somehow substantiate your outrageous claim, correct? Please enlighten us as to why that guitar case has anything to do with this murder. Because I'm an idiot. Can you do that, Mr. Wright? Well... Let's suppose for a second that the bright red guitar was not the only thing that could have been in the case. The bright red guitar not being the only thing.
Objection!
You don't... I didn't get to see what he means. So you intend to push your theory that the case was not empty. Is that it, right? I wouldn't say something I didn't intend to prove. Deflate that head of yours. You haven't proven anything yet. Now then, let's have it. What was inside the case at the time of the murder? A body? A costume. It wasn't his guitar case, maybe. She puts the costume on and then leaves. I think it has to be the costume, right? She's got a spare costume. Because On Guard was wearing his. There's no way she was getting him out of it. This is a photograph. Yes, but what's important is what's in the picture, Your Honor. In this picture. It doesn't take a genius to see what I mean. Oh, don't insult the judge. Come on. What I'm proposing is... Inside the guitar case was a nickel samurai, the hero's very own costume. What? Mr. Wright, explain yourself. Right, you are saying that the witness opened the guitar case to take out a costume? Yes, to put it on and leave the room. What insane point would there be doing something like that? That insane point would be to wear the costume, of course. Miss Andrews put it on to hide her identity so she could make her escape. After all, you couldn't let anyone see you leave, could you, Miss Andrews? Oh, she's sweating. I refuse to accept your theory. Do you have anything to support such a preposterous idea? Just outside the door was an investigative photographer who was starving for a big scoop. And in the end, she managed to get this shot, correct? You mean this photo? Order, order! Looks like we've wandered into quite another mess again, haven't we? Nice job, Phoenix. Well, you know my strategy. Speak first, think later. So the real murderer was hiding inside a costume.
Objection!
Oh, wait 1 second, Your Honor. The Nickel Samurai's costume would have been Mr. Matt and Guard's. Why would something of defendants be in the victim's room? It's a spare, idiot. Inside the guitar case of all places. True. That is a little baffling. Mr. Wright, the court would like to hear your thoughts. What was the Nickel Samurai's costume doing inside the guitar case? It was a spare costume, yeah. Mr. Guard did not take his costume off during the break period. In that case, the costume we are talking about was a spare costume. What? Yeah, like, you know, spare, as in identical to the first, but extra. Now you're saying that on the night of the murder, there were 2 Nickel Samurai costumes at the Gateward Hotel? Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yes, that is what I'm saying. Not rocket surgery. Let's go. And how do you explain the costume that was inside the guitar case? You mean the victim himself had brought this spare to the ceremony on purpose? Or the person planning on the murder? But why? The victim, Mr. Kurita, was the German ninja. Why would he secretly bring the Nickel Samurai's spare costume with him? Okay, so unless she brought it, it could be that he was going to be taking that spot from On Guard. Was that the confession? I don't know. No, I think she packed it. What could be the reason behind such a peculiar act? And therein lies the sticking point.
Objection!
What are you mumbling to yourself about now? Have you just been rambling all this time without any sense of inner monologue? Huh? No, I just... Mr. Wright, please explain yourself. Why do you think the victim had the Nickel Samurai spare costume? Phoenix, are you sure you can explain this one? Think carefully before you answer, and then answer with gusto. I believe in you. Alright, this is what I think. The reason victim brought the spare Nickel Samurai's spare costume to the hotel was... Is it the confession? You want to do voice acting with me? Yeah, we could write a script and make a short story out of something. That'd be kind of cool. Panz plays Dungeons and Dragons. Everyone voice acts. How did he get the spare costume? I mean, this is a stretch. So I wasn't thinking this, but we're being forced to answer why the victim brought it, and we don't get an option of he didn't. I thought the girl packed it in the suitcase. It's not going to be any of these. Like, it's not a photo. It's not for the suicide note or the blood thing. It's the only option left. What is this? On the night of the murder, after the stage show, the Nickel Samurai was going to hold a special press conference. A press conference? Yes, the Nickel Samurai was supposed to confess something at this conference. I heard about this as well. For once you're not making something up, right? What struck me as strange was that Mr. Ungard himself said he had no idea what he was supposed to be holding a press conference that night. Oh, is she getting nervous? No. How could that be? The way I see it, that could mean only one thing. The conference was set up by none other than the victim, Mr. Juan Corrida himself. The victim? Yes. The spare Nickel Samurai costume was prepared for that very conference. Mr. Corrida was going to hold the press conference as the Nickel Samurai. He was going to dress up as the Nickel Samurai and hold a conference. But why would the victim do such a thing? That's something I don't quite know yet. However, what I am concerned with right now is what he intended to reveal at that conference. The Nickel Samurai was going to confess something. And by confess, I'd wager he was going to reveal something about himself. Which means that Juan Corrida, posing as the Nickel Samurai, was going to speak about Matt on guard. So I guess that is what it would mean. But if that's the case, that's not a confession, that's public disclosure. Miss Andrews? I can see why you are the pros at what you do. Pardon me. Yes, just as you say, the press conference was set up by Juan.
Sanders, please offer us an explanation for this.
I was the one that he asked to help set it up. And the person who prepared the second costume for him. That was also me.
You?
Juan had bet everything on the Gem and Ninja this year. And if he lost the Grand Prix, he was going to make sure Matt was going down with him. That's what he thought anyway.
He was going to ruin him, huh?
It looked like somehow Juan had in his hands a secret so powerful that it would destroy Matt's acting career had it been revealed. What?
And do you know what this secret of Mr. On Guard's is, Miss Andrews?
That's something only Juan knew. I don't know what it is.
I see.
I've probably been coming off quite suspicious to everyone, but that's to be expected. I've been trying to protect Matt, after all.
Protect Mr. On Guard. And yet again, another strange bit of truth comes to light, it seems. Miss Andrews, if you could please tell us the truth about your behavior.
Yes, Your Honor. I understand. The moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what. And he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course, the button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt that I had to protect him.
This does account for everything.
Well, I am the logical type.
We're finally seeing her true self. She's a bit more nervous than a scared rabbit.
Oh, wait, yeah. She's a bit more nervous than a scared rabbit.
If the defense can find no fault with this testimony, I'm ready to make a ruling. I'm going to have to reread it, though, because I skipped over it accidentally. I'm using the right mouse button because I hate this. And if I hold the button down, it skips. That's a bit sensitive, I think. Looks like somehow everything has swung the opposite end of the scale again. Means we have to put my weight onto this and turn our logic upside down. Protecting Matt.
The moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling Matt was the murderer. He had to kill Juan no matter what. He didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder.
Oh, right-click here goes backwards.
My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course, but the button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt I had to protect him.
I didn't miss anything. Okay. Thought I missed one.
To me, it sounded a little wishy-washy.
Wishy-washy.
Should know this by now. She'll need strong, decisive evidence to make her talk.
Got it, Chief.
I don't think so. Why does she know Matt's the murderer? Why did Matt have to kill him?
That's not right either. She'd just had dinner with Matt, right? He was... Like, she had just had dinner with him. Dinner was served, plus the dinner was eaten in the other room. And Matt's gone down for a nap. There's no way that she would have known thought Matt was the murderer.
Hold it!
Would you say that was your intuition speaking to you? Don't confuse my methods of reasoning with your own. Okay. If you want to prove that someone did something, you need 3 things. 3 things. A motive, something or something. A motive, an opportunity to commit the crime, and finally decisive evidence. Motive and opportunity. Okay. And evidence. If you think these 3 things through, the answer becomes quite clear. You should have already known that, Phoenix. They didn't teach us that to school. At least not from what I remember. May I continue now? No. Yeah, like, why is the button missing, botherer? And the knife wasn't the murder weapon. He was strangled. Magnum Mun Dude with the 5 gift subs. Welcome Pop Monkey, Mr. TNT, Aljanong, Solar Flare, and I like cookies with tea. Wagner, thank you so much. That puts you over 200 gift subs. Appreciate the massive amount of support you've given me. Much love, my man. He didn't have an alibi. Yeah, the button and the knife. So how did she know where the button was? Like, if you're looking at the scene, you would know the button's missing, but she wouldn't know where it was. Yeah, no, not in one hit. You only did 5 just then, but the total's over. The total's over. Can hardly call the knife decisive evidence. The fingerprints on the knife could very well be a clever camouflage. Well, she wouldn't have known there were fingerprints on the knife, Phoenix. Then what about the button? The button? It's clear from the crime scene that the victim and his murderer fought. Yeah, but you wouldn't know that. And during the fight, the killer ripped the button from Jammin' Ninja's costume. You're talking about this button, correct? That button was found at the police of Mount Sakama. Isn't that correct? Yeah, but you wouldn't know that by looking at it. I think we're onto something here. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I don't think that makes it very decisive evidence. Pusher. Press more. Looks like you're outfoxed again, Mr. Wright. No, press more. Anyway, the knife doesn't prove a thing. Please fix your testimony. I can't stand the sight of a man who can't gracefully accept his defeat. Don't look at me like that, Mia. Goodness, Mia can still look at me. Yeah, but that's not a good look, dude. With an icy stare, yes. Andrews, for Mr. Wright's sake, please add this information to your testimony. The button was torn off one during his fight with Matt. Alright. Now you're in trouble.
Objection!
This is the victim's autopsy report. It clearly states that the cause of death was strangulation by a scarf. Strangulation? The knife stab to the victim was done after the victim had already died. And what does that mean? Let's examine the evidence. This button has the victim's blood on it, which would mean that it was ripped off the costume when? After the knife was stabbed into the victim. Exactly. Which means it is impossible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle, because the victim was strangled to death in that fight. That's right, Miss Andrews. And there may not have even been a fight, right? The vase wasn't knocked over in the fight. She's already admitted she knocked it off afterwards. She could have just walked in there as, to see him. Walked up behind him. Oh, you've had a rough day. Let me just rub your shoulder. No struggle whatsoever. That's right, Miss Andrews. There is no way this button was ripped off during the struggle. This button was consciously pulled off the victim's already dead body. Order. What is the meaning? What's the meaning of this, right? So what if the button was torn off the body after the victim had already died? What does that change? Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Edgelord. Why was the button torn off? What purpose did that serve? Why would Mr. On Guard rip the button off and stick it in his own Hakama pants to be caught with it on his person? What purpose? We know this button was not torn off during the fight, so the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this from the victim's body. That would mean that the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it? That's right. Does this mean you know what the murderer wanted to do with this button? What was it? Yeah, not to have a memento and not to destroy evidence. To pin the crime on guard. There's only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. and Guard. There is no way anyone would put a bloodied button in their own pants. That's right. Mr. On Guard was set up. By the real killer, of course. This one. And the real murderer is... Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, I know it's going to be tough because we don't want to. But when we get that scene, that's the painting of what's happening in court, we have to look very carefully at Mia's chest area, just to confirm that they're painting her in a different style of shirt. I think they are. I think they've got it wrong. Court painted people are supposed to be accurate. We need to check this. Now, I believe what the painting is showing is a low-cut sort of circular neckline on the shirt, like a collar, like a very low, well, not a collar, but that part of a shirt. Okay? And then when we see her looking at us, and it's like her boobs are trying to pop out the top because they're huge, and the shirt is small. But when she's looking directly at us, it's a vest which is open up really far, and her boobs are trying to pop out through the middle because they're huge, and the vest is very small. Right? What shirt is she wearing? Objection! We'll have to take them both off. So that we can compare the two of the shirts, of course, right? For science. And the real murderer is... Well, Mr. Wright, who in the world is the real killer then? Finally. We've already said this like 3 times, right? I can't believe I managed to bring the trial all the way up to this point. See? Down. You can't let your guard down. Not until the very end. The real killer, the person who planned to frame Mr. Ongard is... It's gotta be, it's just gotta be, what's her face? She's literally the only person in here that is even close to this.
Take that!
Why are we talking about Booba? Because there's an inconsistency in the graphics. Miss Adrian Andrews. Are we going to get the painted scene now? I choose you. You are Mr. Corrida's killer. What? Here, look. Yep. Look. Order. Mr. Wright. This is a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge? Any evidence? Zero Suit, Samus did it. Okay. All of the evidence points to Miss Andrews.
What? How preposterous. You can't stick any of that on me.
I can't? Can I? Would you care to test me?
Then what about this knife?
The knife was used to stab the victim after he had already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicion onto Mr. On Guard, naturally. A knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints could only be taken from his room. And the only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you. How many sets of glasses do you have in there? But then... what about the button that was found in Natsukama? This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died. The only people who could have done so were the person who found his body or the killer. However, if Mr. Ungard was the real killer, there is no way he would have put such incriminating evidence in his own Hakama. The only person who could have put this button into Mr. Ungard's Hakama is the person who went to wake him from his nap, which is you, yet again, Miss Andrews. I see. What about the empty guitar case? That is also another piece of evidence that incriminates Miss Andrews. That costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. Now, who could have known that there was just such a costume inside the guitar case? It could only have been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. And that person is you, Miss Adrian Andrews.
No, I...
Objection!
But Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found on the guitar case. And it was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. Oh, and the glove for the costume was in the guitar case. Interesting. That's right. That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone found out she had touched the case, they would have asked her why. So to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open it. But the glass of tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposely left her fingerprints on the glass to show that, yes, indeed, she was the classic dazed discoverer of a dead body. And to top it all off, there is this photo. Photo of the killer as they exited the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on earth can believe this is Nickel Samurai's Mr. Ungard. He would be much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, you're also kind of short in stature, aren't you not?
Please, stop.
Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? I've got it this time. Miss Andrews.
I refuse to testify.
What was that?
There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me.
I think that's only if you're on trial.
Might not, I mean, I'm not 100%, but that, you know. Yeah, again, look up top. The wrong one.
Well, yes. Absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. It makes sense it could be if you're not on trial to protect... Oh, that's a weird one though, hey? Law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination by allowing a witness to not testify if the testimony can cause damage to themselves. What? Pleading the fifth is not something most people would think to do on the spot. No, it's what everyone would think to do on the spot now because of Law and Order, right? Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. Ungard's room...
Adrian Andrews. Yes? Think hard about what we just discussed. Understood. Alright.
That's it. That's when Francisca planted this idea into her head. She must have told Miss Andrews to not testify if things looked bad.
You did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. But there is still one thing you haven't done.
Yeah, but we're in court, and I mean, if you insist. Something I haven't done? Yeah, even he's smart. He's like, yeah.
What's wrong, Wright? Have you finished already? Run out of evidence?
What's so humorous, Mr. Edgelord?
I'm sure you realize this as well, Your Honor. But everything the good lawyer here has proven up to this point is meaningless.
What?
Everything you have proven is circumstantial.
Circumstantial?
Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof. Proof that Miss Andrews did in fact harbour a wish to murder Mr. Corrida.
Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Corrida?
Yeah, like she's just gonna be like, yeah. I believe this may lead to incriminating myself, so I will abstain from answering.
But, Miss Andrews, if you do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think?
Maybe so, or maybe not. There is nothing to prove it either way. Besides, you don't even know what a crime I would be guilty of due to my silence.
Oh, she's taking a defiant attitude again. I hate it when the killers won't admit freely that they're the killers.
Mia, what should we do? Somehow we've landed in the worst possible situation.
I think we have reached a certain conclusion at this point in time. Miss Adrian Andrews has refused to testify, and the defense theory that she is the actual murderer has not been fully substantiated with solid definitive proof.
But that's not true. Mom, Judge is doing it again.
In this situation, there is only one thing this court can do. And that is to declare a recess.
Recess?
Request that both the prosecution and defense look further into this matter. And at tomorrow's trial... Uh-oh.
No, that's not how it works in Nintendo Land, Dr. Danger. You're trying to put too much of real-world law into this. In Nintendo Land, you're guilty until proven innocent, and you've only got 3 days to prove your innocence. Except in this case, someone has kidnapped our assistant and is going to kill her if we don't get the acquittal today.
And at tomorrow's trial.
Tomorrow? No, beyond reasonable doubt. Again, that's real world. It's not Nintendo Land. We're in Nintendo Land right now.
We don't have it tomorrow.
If we don't get a not guilty verdict today, then... Please wait, Your Honor. That's not necessary. The trial. Please continue the trial. What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he? That's not it. This isn't about that. Edgelord, I know you know who the real killer is.
Please, let the trial continue.
I don't get the verdict. Then Maya.
But it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is...
Oh, he's gonna talk. It's not impossible for this trial to continue.
Mr. Edgeworth, what are you?
It's true. Miss Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation was something unrelated to whatever she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony.
Yes, that is very true, but...
Actually, there is one little thing that I'm curious about. Miss Andrews. When you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice. Yes. And? I can't help but think how unnatural that is. Usually when one finds a body that is shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice. So my actions were unusual, but I've already... Before you speak, I want you to state that if you have a reason behind your actions, I would like you to testify to that effect. Testify? Your Honor, I would like to request that the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness. Nice one. I don't know what it is about Edgelord today, but I can't get a good read off him. That's because he's being human. Is he friend or foe? I just don't know. The court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you please. When I found the body. That glass of juice. I didn't really pour it for myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw it in that messy state. The room wasn't messy until after you bumped the thing off, though. We got her. And Juan, he was sitting slumped over and tired, looking in the corner. When I saw him sitting like that, I thought he was dead. Didn't cross my mind. To be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something, so I went to pour him some juice. When I realized he was dead, that's when I knocked the flower vase over. So you poured the glass of juice for the victim. Why didn't you say so in your earlier testimony? I didn't think I needed to include something so trivial. Phoenix, please be careful here. If you can't find anything wrong with this testimony, then there's nothing left. I know. Edgelord, what the heck is going on in that brain of yours? I will. Oh, close eye. Man without hair. Very, very close eye. For science. And for you. Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. When I found the body. Didn't pour it for herself. Okay, the room wasn't messy because she said she knocked it over. If we have a look at the crime scene photo... It's just the guitar. All this stuff she knocked over, so it wasn't messy. That and the fact there's a knife sticking out of the body. So how could you assume someone was just fainted with a knife sticking out of the body? Or if she just fainted, she killed him? Maybe he had fainted. Then she killed him. He was sitting slumped over and tired looking in the corner. And then you stabbed him? I don't know. The thought that he was dead didn't cross her mind. Like, it's just, all this is going to prove to be lying. Thought he just fainted or something.
Objection!
So you honestly didn't think he was dead when you found him? Get a Phoenix? No, not at all. Even though this is what you thought you saw when you discovered the body. What's the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious, Your Honor? There's a knife sticking straight out of Mr. Kurita's chest. Anyone who saw this scene would have immediately thought there was a dead man. Well, you see, I doubt a single person in the world would make a mistake for someone who had fainted. He was acting? Method acting? And then so nonchalantly go pour something to drink. Your point is, Miss Andrews, your testimony just now was all one giant lie. And your lie has proven one thing very clearly. That you are the real killer. How? No. How did it prove she was the killer? I mean, it kind of makes us not believe that but I don't think there's actually any proof that she's the killer because she lied about stuff. All it did was prove she lied. But kind of, you know. We get it, we know she's the killer. But, you know, when the game's always decisive proof, it's like, yeah. Anyway. Looks like the defense has somehow brought the ugly truth to light. The defendant, Mr. Matt on guard, is not guilty after all. We'll bang the gavel, give us the verdict. But that's impossible. You're wrong. Miss Andrews, try to have some composure. It wasn't me. It wasn't me, I tell you. It was Matt, I swear it. He's the one who killed Juan. You were the one who refused to testify. And your reason for not doing so was that you might end up incriminating yourself. That's because... Miss Andrews, I'll give you one last chance. What exactly are you hiding that may incriminate you? I refuse to testify. Did she murder Celeste? And there is no need for the court to continue any further. Mr. Matt and Guard's innocence has been clearly demonstrated. Is it over? Have we found the truth at last? What's wrong, Phoenix? Usually the real killer confesses his or her guilt. Yeah, to be fair, Phoenix, you've had a pretty lucky run with people just, like, openly admitting that they did it on the stand. And now I think about it, this is the first time someone hasn't. Now then, I'd like to hand down my verdict for Mr. Matt and Guard.
Objection!
Your Honor, the prosecution feels that it would be premature to pass down a verdict at this time.
What?
The reason is quite simple. The witness has yet to speak the absolute real truth.
Absolute real truth. What are you?
Witness, don't you understand yet? Huh? I don't know who planted this silly idea in your head, but as long as you protect yourself through your silence, Matt and Guard will go free, and in his place, you will become the guilty party. That's a lie. I don't believe you.
What?
I was told if I spoke, then it would be all over and Matt would never be declared guilty.
What the world is she talking about? Has she lost it?
I can't speak about it. I'm too scared. It's Franziska von Karma.
Huh?
Don't you remember Phoenix? Miss Andrews lives by gripping tightly onto words of another, because she doesn't have the strength to believe in herself. Then, right now, Miss Andrews is... Yesterday she was tossed at a lifesaver by Miss Von Karma. Don't say a word. No matter what happens, if you do, Matt on guard will be acquitted. Miss Andrews undyingly believes in those words right now and is clinging onto them. Then what should we do? This is the first time I've ever come across anything like this. Later, Yadako. Thanks for hanging out, dude. See you next time. But Miss Andrews has to be the killer, right? All we have to do now is get our not guilty. That is my only priority. Oh, wow. So then we have to defend her tomorrow? It wasn't me. I'm begging you, please believe me. I didn't kill Juan. Help, please. Someone help me.
Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. Court can't continue on like this, therefore I'd like to hear what you intend to do. What I intend to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say?
Right. I suggest you think very carefully about this. Think about what this witness did and what she did not do. And think about who is the real mastermind behind this crime. Who's the real mastermind? Isn't that obvious? There's no one else it could be except the woman crying over there, right? Come now. What will you do? What kind of man have you, Mr. Phoenix Wright? Okay, so we can either request a not guilty or force her to testify. I don't think we can force her to testify though, right? No matter what she says, Miss Andrews is the only person it could be. Not to mention, I don't have a choice. Yeah, we have to get the acquittal today. Your Honor, the defense believes there is enough evidence to substantiate our claim. Therefore, we motion that this court passes a verdict of not guilty as soon as possible. I'm disappointed in you, Wright. What have you learned in this past year?
That's enough. I commend you for trying, Mr. Edgeworth. However, it's clear that defense theory is the truth.
You're wrong. What a shame. I had hoped things wouldn't come to this, however.
What is it, Mr. Edgelord?
Miss Andrews, since you absolutely refuse to testify, it falls on my shoulders to disclose this to the court. Stop!
Mr. Edgelord.
This witness, how should I put this? She has an illness. What? And because of this illness, she has tried to commit suicide in the past. Stop! Please stop! No matter how much you want to hide it, it's no use. I have the evidence right here. That's the second part of the suicide report. The attempted suicide report. What will you do now, witness? You know what I'm about to do, don't you? I will now reveal to the court the true nature of the pitiful woman known as Adrian Andrews. The secret of her dependent nature. Having other people know about it scares her more than anything else in the world. Please stop. I beg you. If people find out, If you're going to say you would choose death, that is no concern to me. And plus, if she does, and if she is choosing death and wants to keep quiet, she gets charged with murder and found guilty and gets put to death anyway. So right now, her only option is death, death, or death. Edgelord, how can you be so cold? However, before you die, I will pull the truth from your still breathing lips, no matter what I have to do. So you tell the court yourself, or shall I? Either is fine with me. Talk, but please help me.
I got a feel for her a little bit.
Nothing matters anymore.
Her crime.
When I first saw him, I really thought he had fainted, honest. When I realized he was dead, that was when I formulated my plan. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway, I made a dash back to Matt's room. And then I stabbed Juan's dead body with the knife and ripped off the button. Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience. That's why I ended up using the nickel samurai costume.
Stabbed the body with the knife. But why would you do that?
It's obvious to pin the blame on a certain person. A certain cowardly man.
What do you mean by all of this? It might take this court a little while to understand, but... He doesn't have faith in the judge. This is the truth.
The real killer is Matt. That scumbag of a man. I'll never forgive him. He's just trying to escape his guilt again. Just like last time.
Last time?
So Miss Andrews stabbed the victim, Juan Corrida, in the chest with the knife. However, she didn't do it with murder in mind. She did it with the intent of framing Matt on guard for the murder. And this is her crime. What? How is this possible? I mean, wasn't Miss Andrews supposed to be the real murderer?
Mr. Wright, please get over your shock and commence the cross-examination. Wow. My crime.
Okay. So, she goes in and says that she thought she'd fainted. We can't counter with the photo of the knife in the chest because she's about to say she put the knife in herself. So this is true. Then she realized she was dead. And did what? She wasn't shocked? This one we can press, I think. Why didn't she freak out? These ones kind of make sense. Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience. Okay, this one's also a little weird. She says when she's finished and was returning to Matt's room. The inconvenience was that the reporter was there, right? But how did she know? So she would have had to go back? Why was there not a photo of her in the hallway? Or maybe there was, we just weren't presented with it. I don't think so, though. What is this plan you had? I knew right away the murderer was Matt. I knew because Juan, he was going to expose Matt's weakest weak point to the world. So Matt did this to stop Juan and silence him for good. But Matt didn't know Juan was going to do this. That's when I thought, I should forge some evidence and pin this crime on Matt. So the forged pieces of evidence were the knife and the button. The first thing that came to mind was to plant the knife. Okay, this one. Inconvenience. There was a woman with a camera at the ready, loitering in the hallway. How did you know this? I'm willing to bet my spikes it was Lotta. There was also a woman with a ray gun at the ready, pacing back and forth. Is
this old bag for you. I'd already been caught and made into a big scoop for a certain weekly tabloid once, so I couldn't very well go out looking like myself and get caught again. And that's why I ended up using the nickel samurai costume. Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit... No, that doesn't clear it up. And there's nothing else we can talk about with it. And it's just the game being the game. Like, why couldn't you... Like, how, that would be the follow-up question. Like, how could you possibly know the photographer was waiting? Right? I think I know what to do. Okay. So at some point in the game, when you have nothing, you press everything. And it doesn't matter what their response is. But you could tell from the state the room was in, there must have been a fight. No, you couldn't, because there was no mess. Why do they keep going back to this? If she was the one that knocked the vase off, there was no mess. He was just sitting in a chair and he'd finished dinner. The only thing that indicated a mess on the photo was the open guitar case and the knocked over vase. Are you telling the truth when you say you didn't know he's dead? He had a scarf tied around his neck. The scarf is part of the Jam and Ninja's costume, so I didn't think it was anything, but it was strange. His head was tilted down, so I could see his face that well. That's why I thought to wake him up. I went to pour the juice. Yeah. The story's fallen apart now. This is kind of rubbish testimony. I think we already covered this one, but yeah, we did. Blah, 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 blah. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway. How? How did you make sure? And there was someone in the hallway. That was so you could get the knife? Yes, it was so she could get the knife. The knife Matt used at dinner had his fingerprints all over it. Thought if they used that, the police would certainly turn their eyes towards him. I was napping with his costume on. I slipped in, took the knife, returned to the scene of the crime. Stabbed once, their body with a knife ripped off the button. Beat up the victim with a knife. Gives me goosebumps to think about it now, what a horrible thing I did. But at the time I couldn't control my body, it moved on its own. And when I stabbed once, their body, I suddenly realised something. If I used the button somehow, I could make Matt look even more suspect. So you thought to rip off one of the buttons and then planned to Mr. Unguard's Hakama. Yes, that's what I had planned to do. But things never got that smoothly, do they? Yeah, there was someone in the hallway, we already pressed that one. You're the one who prepared that costume, weren't you? Yeah, I took it from Global Studios. I also put in Juan's guitar case the day before the award ceremony. You did this in preparation for the press conference, correct? Yes, Juan wanted to wear the costume and hold a press conference in it. It's going to disclose Matt's big secret there. And what is this secret? That I don't know. Anyway, I thought that if I were to leave Juan's room in the Nickel Samurai costume, then people would think that Matt was the real murderer. I was very careful not to leave any fingerprints when I opened the guitar case. Absolutely did not want anyone to know about the costume. Yeah, that's... everything was really good with the story until then. That piece of what she was saying, it just doesn't work. After that, you went back to Onguard's room and planted the button. Into Matsukama, yes. After that, I folded up the costume I was wearing and put it into a bag. And snuck out of the hotel and got rid of it. What does this all mean? It means nothing. It means she planted evidence on someone who could be the murderer or someone who could be innocent. Mr. Edgelord, is it? Real criminal is Matt Onguard. Yesterday, when prosecutor sat me down for a talk. Francisca, huh? She said that I should under no circumstances confess what I had done. But if I kept quiet, then Matt would be found guilty for sure. I had no choice but to believe in her words. What this witness has done is clearly unlawful, however, as long as her testimony stands, we can be certain she is not the real killer, unless she's lying. Wait, Your Honor. pointless. At this point in time, it's not possible to indict Miss Andrews on anything. That's exactly... Cross-examination of the witness is over. So is today's trial. You couldn't establish the witness was the culprit. Please let it go, Mr. Wright. But... Mr. Edgelord, please place Miss Andrews under arrest for further questioning. Understood, Your Honour. The prosecution will arrange for her detention immediately. That is all. Court is adjourned for today. Maya gets killed. We didn't win the acquittal. Witness, do you mind if I asked you something? What is it? Before you leave court today, I wonder if I might look at one thing. That card in your hand. It's had my interest for quite some time now. What exactly is it? Oh, this? Mr. Wright also asked about this. Although I didn't remember at the time you asked me about it. Mr. Wright, I remember just now I found this in the room on that day. The room. That day. Yes. I found this card when I discovered one's body. It was lying there right next to him. You found that card next to the victim's body. Suppose I must have unconsciously slipped it into my pocket. It's not as if this card has any relevance to one's murder, right? You're an idiot. You're an even bigger idiot. It's still a strange card if you ask me. Mia, do you recognize the card? But as far as I clue this case, I don't see why. Witness, that card. Give it to me, hurry. Edgelord, you have any idea what you have stupidly yet inadvertently done? This, I can't believe you hid this from me all this time. I didn't mean to. What is this all about? Never seen Edgelord so emotional before. That card. What in the world is it, and what does it mean? He's grabbing the judge. Ooh, to be continued. Man, I mean, it's kind of clear. I'm really disappointed in how that last testimony sort of, the story played out. Like, you only get to ask the questions that stupid Phoenix comes to mind. And it's kind of like that feeling, I guess, people when they're watching streamers play games and they ask, why don't you do this? And you're like, that is not even close to one of the mechanics you could possibly do. You know, but they don't know that because you're not playing it, right? And I'm sitting here telling Phoenix to ask this question. He can't hear me. He's a stupid man in a video game. Very stupid man in a video game. But yeah, like, it was, her last testimony was seriously flawed. And Phoenix is just like, oh, okay, I guess. Sure. Either way, be interesting to see where it goes.